everyone, some gamer dude here. As you move into game design and your work takes true form, engine, card types and colour ply all in place, it starts becoming more enjoyable to play your work than other people's games. In some ways, it becomes more satisfactory to design over play too. Today, I want to keep with that idea and talk about my influences, the games that influenced how I design games, and the standards to which I hold myself. From each game, I'll only be talking about one aspect, as that's just how it goes. An idea from a game really speaks to you and your sensibilities, not the whole thing. With no specific order, let's begin. Magic the Gathering is one of the two most influential games of all time, so it should come as no surprise that it influenced me. The thing that really hit me is the colour pie. Many of the games I've played prior, the factions, attributes, clans, styles, colours, whatever the game calls them, they are very ill defined with a lot of bleeding. Colours do a lot of the same things and there is very little to differentiate them. Or they do the same thing with slightly different flavour. In a lot of these games, colour bleed, where colours do things they shouldn't do, is so common it's easy to question why the colours exist at all. This is where Magic excels. The 5 colours have their own identities, mechanics, goals, relationships, and game plan. It's clear to see what each colour is at its very core by just looking at the cards. The colours exist for a reason, and give meaningful flavour to the game. I play a specific colour or colour combination. My deck has a specific identity, or an identity from a group of identities associated with that colour. It gives Magic as a whole mechanical identity. Even when the concepts are adjacent, such as burn versus life loss, the flavour is what matters. I think this is very important. Strengths, weaknesses, flavour, identity. If decks only do everything, and the game is grey, samey sludge, what's the point? I'm not saying Magic lives up to the ideal of a diverse landscape where decks can't cover all of their bases. As soon as you get up to 3 colours, you can cope with most things. I'm just saying that the core ideal of the colour pie is worth pursuing because it works. Let's take the second most influential game of all time off the list too, Duel Masters. If you follow this channel, you'll know I still have a great deal of fondness for Duel Masters, and it should be no surprise that it influenced me too. Duel Masters has a ton to offer, and in many ways, I think it is better than Magic. But for today, it's the streamlined experience it provides. Before I go on, I need to explain the difference between streamlined and simplified, because I think some people conflate the two. I'll directly quote the Dragon Quest I review by Mr. Gentleman, as I think his explanation is very easy to process. Streamlining is taking something complicated and making it easy to use. Simplifying is taking something with depth and making it shallow. From my perspective, a simplified game would be the recently deceased Transformers TCG, a game with little flavour and less going on, no meat to the game, and anything they added was just more of the same. A streamlined game would be Duel Masters, a game that took Magic the Gathering and modified it to be far more user-friendly. Every change is for quality of life. Lands getting you down? Gone. No dedicated resource card. You don't want to use paper or a die for life? Me neither. Shields. You want to attack creatures? You can do that within reason. Instants create feels bad experiences? Don't worry about those. Only the rubber band mechanic that is shield triggers exists. I really like user-friendly experiences. Games being intuitive to play, make perfect sense, and flow well. I don't like games that feel needlessly complex for complexity's sake or contain experiences that are just frustrating due to a bug that wasn't addressed, or worse yet, by design. This isn't to say I'd copy everything Duel Masters did, but the idea there. Everything flows well, is easy to comprehend, and doesn't make the player feel bad at any point. That's what I take away from Duel Masters, a user-friendly, streamlined experience. In a way, I think it is the most influential game to me as well. The games that have meant the most to us are going to be some of the most influential. So maybe I should stop saying any of this list is shocking. It's really not. How Cardfight Vanguard influenced me is very similar to how Duel Masters influenced me. Until Vanguard Overdress, Vanguard was not an overall streamlined experience. Right Chances put a stop to that. But what I do like is how cards aren't useless. Vanguard, Rearguard, Shield, Pitch Cost. In very few circumstances are cards truly useless. Usually just full board, no perfect guard, grade 3 in hand. But I think this is important. Holding a handful of cards and them all being completely useless because you literally cannot do anything with them is an incredibly feels-bad experience. It's part of the reason why people have an issue with the land system. In Vanguard, no reason to ride it, Rearguard. Rearguard full, guarding. Card has no shield, pitch for cost. This system where cards always have a use and you're not left with dead cards, I find it fit in perfectly with the prior streamlined point. It's a quality of life aspect of the game and I think it's worth emulating. Yes, in Duel Masters you can put cards you don't need into the mana zone. I just think Vanguard exemplifies it better because you get up to max tempo with turn 3. It's not a longer process. The last point is actually influenced by two games, Vanguard again and Force of Will. The importance of emotional attachment and how avatar cards can facilitate this. I've mentioned this a lot in the past, bonding with cards. The characters, the flavour, and having those cards be a pivotal point of the game. Either emotional attachment to a character or some type of resonance between the character and the player. Vanguard had this baked in since day one, the concept of the avatar, and people developing attachment to certain clans. The game was designed with this in mind. Yes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has its cards associated with the characters, while Pokemon and Magic have famous creatures, but Vanguard does it differently. It's much more bombastic about it, and outside of Aichi Sendo, it's usually the grade 3, the Vanguard itself. A card that hits the board, then stays front and centre. The game focuses around it. Board positioning means a lot here too. Kodak mentioned this in a recent video, and unlike the shields of Duel Masters, this never even registered with me before. It's actually rather interesting how much of Vanguard focuses on pushing the Vanguard as a bonding experience. Force of Will also comes into play here. The Ruler card. Given you don't have to achieve it later in the game, it starts in play. This is far more of a direct avatar card. You play as this character. This has been done by many other games before. It's nothing new. But it does fall in line with what Vanguard is doing. For most of the game, like many others, the ruler is placed off to the side, close to you, whatever isn't in play. Officially it's off to the side. There's no real connection beyond the pretty picture. This too is normal for many games, utilising an avatar card. Then you cast Judgment. The ruler becomes a J-ruler, and it enters play. It comes out front and centre to fight with your resonators. The dual-faced card is a marvellous invention for avatar cards. Literal transformation. It's dynamic and engaging. That is what I love about the ruler. People love certain Vanguards. They want to see them return, get legacy support, new forms. People love certain rulers. They want to see them return and get new forms. Both cause an emotional investment to develop. It makes the game far more personal and just not a bunch of paper with blocks of text. It makes it mean something. When I'm brainstorming ideas, these are the types of things I think about. While I have some type of goals I'm trying to achieve with a game project beyond, oh hey, this idea is cool, I try to keep these points in mind. Is the goal too complex? How do I streamline it? Same goes for wording, mechanics, and even individual cards. Does anything produce feels-bad experiences? What is the flavour and how well is it expressed? Will decks only end up doing everything? Is there something to grow attached to? Not every game has to emulate the games I talked about today to a T. I wouldn't make a Magic type game without instants like Duel Masters. But the ideas put forth with these games, that's what I'm aiming for. The goals that they were trying to achieve and was successful at. It's also what I'm looking for when I review games too. I hope today's video was interesting. While some of these points might be seen as very basic things, I'm always amazed how many games execute these concepts so poorly. This has been some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.